What would we do without duct tape?
The health of our oceans depends on the balance of the marine ecosystem. Sharks have survived for millions of years and play an essential role in the health of our oceans. In our quest to learn more about sharks to protect them, we have learned that they use coastal habitats as nurseries to foster the growth of juveniles to maturity. Having a better understanding of the shark nurseries will allow us to improve our conservation efforts and protect this essential species.
When I moved up here in 2001 with my wife, I needed something to do. And I came out here on the bridge and I started fishing, and I fish every day from April 15th till October 15th. You will see me rain or shine, I am on the bridge every day.
I've been interested in sharks my entire life. I guess it's in my DNA. I actually knew before I even went into kindergarten that I wanted to be a shark biologist. I just have always loved sharks. There's about 24 different species of sharks that have been documented in the waters off of Massachusetts. Some of them are pretty uncommon, but we have a few really common species every year, like blue sharks, poor beagle sharks, mako sharks. Those are some of the sharks people have heard about. We have the sand tiger sharks, which are showing up in greater numbers now. We have smooth and spiny dogfish. We also have some of the biggest sharks like basking sharks, and of course great whites. The sand tiger shark is a coastal shark. It gets to about 10 feet as an adult, and what we're seeing here in the Plymouth, Kingston, Duxbury area are actually juveniles, mainly newborns to 2-year-olds.
Why is it a nursery? It's a nursery because we have no natural predator for the sand tiger shark. So the pups, as they're called, will come up here right after they're born.
It's a shark that likes to eat fish, and it's also a shark that does really well in aquariums. If you've ever been to an aquarium, you've probably seen a sand tiger shark. They have a nice mouthful of long, thin teeth that are specifically for grabbing and holding on to fish. They have 2 dorsal fins that are about equal size. That's one way to tell them apart from other sharks in this area.
Once plentiful in southern Massachusetts, the sand tiger population declined dramatically in the mid-1900s. As a result of these declines, they became federally protected in 1997. Soon afterwards, the sand tiger population appeared to make a noticeable recovery, especially in the Plymouth, Kingston, Duxbury Bay.
I wanted to start this sand tiger study back in the early 2000s when I first started receiving reports from fishermen that they were catching these sharks.
The first time I caught a sand tiger shark, we didn't know what it was.
So after I finally got hold of different fishermen in the area that showed me pictures and I confirmed that they were sand tiger sharks, I knew it was a pretty unique phenomenon, and I went back to my boss, Greg Scommel, at the Division of Marine Fisheries, and we talked about starting a study, trying to tag and actually document that these sharks were in the bay and what they were doing in the bay.
John spent the next year trying to catch sand tiger sharks to tag for his study with little luck.
I first met Dave actually when I was on my quest to find sand tiger sharks. I ran into another Dave Bitters, who had a bait and tackle shop in Duxbury, and I was asking him if he ever heard of people catching sand tiger sharks, and he said, yeah, I should call Santa, and he gave me a phone number.
And if I told you to call Santa, you would think I was playing a joke on you and forget about it. 2 weeks later, he was back in with Dave, and Dave said to him, did you talk to Santa? He said, come on, Dave.
You really want me to call this? He said, yeah, go ahead, call the number. So I called, I asked for Santa, and of course I got Santa. I got Dave.
And said that he was with the Department of Marine Fisheries and that they were interested in sand tiger sharks and that he understood I caught them. I said, I catch them every day.
And he said, well, if you want a sand tiger shark, come down to the Powder Point Bridge. And I said, well, I know they're hard to catch and they're not that common. And he insisted.
Next Tuesday, I'll never forget it. I'll say 5 o'clock in the morning. And 5 o'clock, John parked his car right over here, walked up on the bridge, identified himself, and we started talking.
Not really expecting to find any sand tiger sharks, and then in just a couple hours we caught about 14 of them. So that was really the start of the project, when Dave started showing us how to catch the sand tigers and where to catch them.
The project lasted almost 4 years and remained a collaboration between marine biologists and a local fisherman.
The reason we did the study in this area was because this is where we were finding the juvenile sand tiger sharks. I was working with Santa and we were catching sharks, and I was tagging them with what we call a conventional tag, an M tag, which is basically a tag that has a coded number on it, and also instructions on where to report the tag if you happen to catch the shark. So to tag the sharks, we would wait for Dave to catch one, and then he would bring it down to us on the beach. We'd bring it in, measure it, check out its condition, and then we would just place a tag in the base of its dorsal fin and get the sharks back in the water as fast as we can. We also kept a few sharks in a tank down at Jones River Landing and would hold them for a few days to see how long it took them to acclimate to get back to their regular levels. And what we found is that these sharks would recover very quickly from the stress of being caught and being handled. As the project evolved in 2008, we had a grad student, Jeff Kneebone from UMass, join the project, and we started tagging the sharks with acoustic telemetry tags. And these tags give a lot more information. They send out a coded signal that's picked up by receiver stations that we set up in the bay. And that would tell us not only, where the sharks were moving, but some of their preferences, their behaviors while they were in the bay. And it would also tell us when they left the bay. And additionally, which we didn't really anticipate, was that other receivers that researchers up and down the coast were deploying for their own studies would also be able to pick up our sand tiger sharks. So we'd get also long-range movements of the sharks, which we did. We saw some of these sharks go all the way down to Florida. When we found these sharks, originally we found fishermen that were thinking they were dogfish and weren't taking the time to look at them. They were just, stabbing them and throwing them back in the water, and I would find dead sand tiger sharks washed up on the beach. So we started to, spread the word with the locals, and I've been doing presentations around the area just to try to educate people and educate fishermen that these sharks are out there. They're not dogfish, even though they're similar in size and shape, and they're a prohibited species.
If I catch them now, I know what they are. I don't want to lose a lot of line, so I'll bring them to the bridge and either cut the line or let them rub up against the piling and cut themselves off.
Through these educational efforts, local fishermen are learning to understand and recognize the sand tiger and appreciate how unique and special our bays are as nurseries to these animals.
Well, humans' impact on sharks in a bunch of different ways. Some ways that you wouldn't expect. Sharks are very slow growing. They don't produce many young, and any type of fishing pressure can really harm shark populations. One of the other things that impacts sharks is habitat loss and habitat destruction. A lot of people don't realize that, but there's a lot of pollution and chemicals that we produce that you might not think about. There are some people that once they do find out that we're catching these sharks in the bay, they get concerned about their safety. They're not a shark that is looking to eat anything big like a human or bite anybody.
The study showed that sand tigers are not a dangerous shark to people. The water magnification makes them look bigger, makes them look awful nasty when they open their mouth and you see their teeth. But they're not a bad fish. They're nothing like a great white. And they deserve to be left alone in Duxbury Bay. What I love most about fishing, I don't have to catch a fish. I enjoy just being out here.
My favorite type of shark is actually oceanic white-tip shark. They're a real open water pelagic shark. I think they're pretty cool.
I don't go on the bridge that somebody doesn't stop and call me Santa and wave.
I've always wanted to be a shark biologist, and now finally I'm living my dream.
The friendliness of the people and keeping this old man young. That and the vitamin D I get from the sun.